how finance and immigration industry connects and how you can get help from there.
You touched on a couple of industries that really do cross over very strongly. I think it's the aspiration of everyone in Australia to be a property owner. And I see it all the time. I see people that have recently arrived. I see them transitioning into a permanent residency in Australia.
There's a lot of government schemes and a lot of factors to be considered while buying a property as a new arrival, or let's say recently became a permanent resident.
As an example, if you're going to need a 95, as I mentioned, for $1 million purchase. If you had $200,000.
Hi, this is Karan, and I have Andrew from a mortgage industry who has worked in this industry from last 10 years, and now he's having his own business, and now he's planning to share his insights with the Glory Immigration, how finance and immigration industry connects and how you can get help from there.
Thank you for the introduction, Karan. It's a pleasure to be here today. You touched on a couple of industries that really do cross over very strongly. I think it's the aspiration of everyone in Australia to be a property owner. And I see it all the time. I see people that have recently arrived. I see them transitioning into a permanent residency in Australia. There's also a lot of people arriving in Australia that are on work visas. It's a bit of a tiered approach. So if I'm looking at a particular client scenario, the first things I'm really thinking about is what is their eligibility. They're obviously going to be first home buyers, being recent arrivals in Australia. What are the schemes that they could be able to access? And there is a raft of different schemes in Australia, and they're state specific. But if we look at where we are sitting today, we're in Parramatta, which is in New South Wales. New South Wales has some very generous schemes. There's the First Home Guarantee Scheme. That allows people to purchase with as little as a 5% deposit.
Yeah, that's the best thing,
Which is great. There are price caps with the scheme. If you're looking at Sydney specifically, it's up to $1.5 million. This is a massive increase from the scheme last year, which had a cap of $900,000. There also was historically income caps of $125 for an individual or $200,000 for a couple. There are no longer any income caps. This scheme, I think you can look at it in a couple of ways. It's really accelerated growth in a particular segment in the property industry, but it's also allowed people that maybe were struggling to save for a deposit to get into their first home sooner. That can be coupled with a range of other schemes as well. The most notable, and this has been around for some time, is the stamp duty exemption or concession. Now, there's a full stamp duty exemption in New South Wales, or particularly metro areas, up to $800,000. It does differ in regional areas, and it's concessional up to $1 million.
Wow.
So great schemes.
Yes, that's the best thing that government is currently focusing of the stamp duty exemption to promote new migrants to buy property. But do you think the prices are going up and up and there is no downwards trend is seeing?
This is segment specific. Ultimately, we're probably caught in a strange time in human history. And what we were seeing is prices continuing to increase across Australia. And really that's been the theme for as long as I've been alive. But it has started to cool a little bit, and particular segments. If we talk about the top end of the market, those prices are coming down considerably. But if we're talking about the competitive segments where there are concessions available, those segments are still very competitive and the prices are not dropping from what I'm seeing.
I believe the major thing about the price going upwards is the labor shortage and the building materials.
Absolutely correct. That's been an issue that was really exacerbated through COVID, and we're not seeing any real improvement there. It's one of the most critical components of Australia with an aging population, is that we bring in new people in order to facilitate continued growth in the economy. Obviously, supply chain issues have existed. Australia is a very large country and it's not very densely populated, so we do have supply chain issues naturally, obviously exacerbated again by what happened in COVID, and we haven't really seen a recovery from that.
It might be new for you to know that government has only given PR. When I say only, that means the only three industry, which is the construction, medical and the teaching industry, and they are very specific to construction laborers. So that's how we can see that the government and Australia is feeling shortage of a construction trade workers, particularly let's say a carpenter, painter, bricklayers. And because of that, once the major migrants come into this industry, I guess the shortage may get filled, and that's where the price can get stabilized. Do you think that that would help, or that would connect to finance and the property prices?
Absolutely. Ultimately, the Australian property market is heavily driven by supply and demand.
Yeah.
So supply is continually being outweighted by the demand. That's not fueled by new arrivals to the country exclusively. It's the fact that Australia is a very large country,
Yeah.
and it's difficult to continue to expand the infrastructure that creates opportunities for new housing.
Yeah.
So there's multiple angles and I think issues that need to be looked at, but certainly filling some of those holes with new people, new
Yeah.
blood that's going to be able to improve the growth of our country is very important.
Yeah, and surprisingly, if you can see that Perth in South Australia has given tremendous results from last 2 years, and that is why it's growing, and the labor is in shortage there as well.
Well, I mean, you touch on both of those places. Ultimately, Western Australia's seeing unprecedented growth in its property
Yeah.
prices. So obviously the ability to supply more is greatly restricted over there. But interestingly, we'll touch on South Australia very briefly. They've recently changed some of their first home buyer schemes. They have now issued a zero transfer or stamp duty for any new builds, off the plan, vacant land purchases with no cap, zero. Which is an amazing scheme, and I think it's really forward thinking from the South Australian government to implement that plan. Because what does that do? Well, that's going to drive interest in development in the South Australian economy,
Correct.
construction of new houses. So a really great scheme over there in South Australia.
Amazing. So, do you think that the interest rate going up is gonna affect the new home buyers to get into the property market?
We're sitting at, I'm going to say, historically,
Yeah.
they're not crazy high interest rates. I mean, if we go back to the 1990s, we're looking at interest rates at up to 18%. So if we're looking at the history of interest rates, it's not a particularly high market right now.
Yeah.
It's just relevant to what we have been through.
Correct.
And when we're looking at the interest rates, the incentives that the government gave through dropping the cash rate, we were at fixed rates of high 1%, so 1.89% people could fix their home loan for 5 years.
Yeah.
And ultimately, we've seen changes that have been born out of this, the economy stabilising. And the rates are going up. We are in I guess, a cycle with increasing rates.
Yeah.
I don't see a significant change to the activity. I would say the conflict in the Middle East has had an initial impact.
Yeah.
But with the rates going up, certain segments are going to be impacted more than others. Now, I think people are really in that first home buyer segment. There's always going to be desire. It's kind of like what you'd call the Australian dream.
Yeah.
So I just see that maybe it's going to level the pricing a little bit. Instead of the rampant growth, we might see some stabilising and just minimal growth. But hopefully we don't get too many more rate rises, I think is probably where I sit.
And for you, as a finance advisor, what do you reckon to build your own home or just do a strategy of a rent vesting?
Great question. It really depends. If you're a recent arrival in Australia and you come into a place like Sydney, you're going to go, median house price more than $1.2 million.
Yeah.
Probably don't. That doesn't just fall out of your back pocket, right? Ultimately, with the other requirements, permanent residency, and citizenship, you're in a position where maybe you want to be in Sydney long term, and you want to be on the property ladder.
Correct.
Rent investing is a great, I guess, opportunity to be able to do that. And you can buy property in other parts of the country, $500,000 or $600,000. It becomes vastly more affordable.
Correct.
The one thing you got to consider if you're looking at rent vesting as a strategy is that you potentially lose your first home buyer incentive scheme access down the track when you do want to buy your first home. So that's something that you need to consider.
Yeah.
But it's always a good strategy if you want to get on the property ladder as soon as possible.
Do you think the business clients will be helpful to, let's say someone needs to buy a business? Do you think those sort of clients are helpful to you?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
When I'm looking at finance, I guess having been in the industry and recruited brokers for quite a long time prior to becoming one, I saw predominantly people entering the industry to focus on the residential lending. And I've always had an interest in business, and I've been in businesses where I was responsible for P&Ls, and I can obviously read the P&Ls, read the financials, the balance sheets, get an understanding of businesses to a deeper level. And I think if you're looking at residential lending and you're supporting self-employed clients, by default you're looking at the financials. So it's not a big stretch to then go, well, what does commercial and business lending actually look like? And for me, it's kind of the more interesting angle, or the more interesting segment of lending, where you're digging in and you're actually getting into a business and understanding how a business operates. So,
for temporary migrants, if they wants to buy a business, do you think the permanent residency matters? Let's say the business is around 1 million, or let's say 500,000 or $300,000.
well, if they're buying a business as a visa holder,
As a visa.
the impacts from a purchasing perspective, I don't think are as onerous as buying property. But again, I'm not aware of the legal implications of purchasing a business as a foreigner. I really don't know. I can
Because-
quickly search it.
A new arrival, or let's say recently became a permanent resident and a first home buyer, what sort of advice that you can give?
Everyone's situation is unique. Whether you're on a temporary visa or you've just recently received your permanent residency, it's really important that you get the right kind of advice. That's what I do. So if you do need some help, you can reach out to me or somebody that is recommended to you in your circle. At the end of the day, the profession that I'm in, we're guided by a number of, I guess, legal requirements, which is different from going straight to a bank. We have best interest duty. We must, as mortgage finance advisors, act in the client's best interests. This is what separates us. We must always put our client's interests first. Really, that's the key, and that's why I love doing what I do, because I'm actually, by definition, I must help my clients and do the best thing for them. So it's rewarding in that way.
All right. Thank you very much, Andrew. Our audience has received a great insight. Even I receive a great insights from this video and this content. That's what we wanted to achieve, that how finance and immigration industry correlates, and how construction prices are going up, what the first home buyers can get benefit, and what are the benefits of the stamp duties. So these are all the things that our audience wanted to know as a migrant. And yes, if you require any finance related advices, any mortgage broking services, contact Mr. Andrew Wild, and the link is in this video.